Good evening and welcome to our PPS presentation on virtual learning options for the 2022-23 school year. Portsmouth Public Schools will utilize the Virginia Department of Education's Virtual Virginia program to offer online learning opportunities for our K-12 students next year. VVA offers online instruction in both a part-time and full-time capacity, also in a synchronous and asynchronous instructional mode. Synchronous, for future reference, is when students are engaged in live instruction. The teacher actually has their camera turned on and students will also have their cameras turned on. The good thing about the Virtual Virginia program is that students remain affiliated with their enrolling school, and that allows them to still participate in VHSL programs. Virtual Virginia also receives consistent updates to their content from the Virginia Department of Education, and the Virtual Virginia program does offer annual parent and guardian surveys to continually get feedback. Just some statistics on the Virtual Virginia program. You can see for the most part, students and parents have been very pleased with their experience in the Virtual Virginia program. So we're going to get started talking about first the K-5 core program. This program will be offered to students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, and it will cover subject areas of math, science, social studies, reading and language arts, and STEM. Virtual Virginia provides a full-time teacher of record. Please note that this is not a PPS teacher. The Virginia Department of Education hires their own teachers that are Virginia certified to actually teach courses through Virtual Virginia. There will be required daily synchronous and asynchronous instruction. There are times in the day that is set aside for encore subjects such as art, music, dance, and PE. There's also time set aside for one-to-one and small group instruction, as well as intervention support. Virtual Virginia will also partner with schools to provide support for IEP 504 and ELL students. And there is also time during Virtual Virginia where parents and guardians can have office hours to be able to have interaction with that Virtual Virginia teacher. This is a sample day of what a K-5 program might look like. So if you are currently in Virtual Virginia, you will notice that this is a little bit different, where there's actually going to be some structured time throughout the day. And these time frames will include live synchronous instructions that students are required to attend. For example, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, students will follow a schedule similar to this that might look like a schedule they would follow if they were actually in person. You can see that the time blocks are small, so students are not going to be online for an hour at a time. They may be online for 15 to 20 minutes, getting some live instruction, and then they will go off and do some of their independent work as a follow-up. On Wednesdays, the activities are a little bit more flexible. There's a block for reading and math, but this is when the Virginia Department of Education and Virtual Virginia will also implement a STEM block. And this is something that will be done in both a live and an independent format. Also on Wednesdays, Virtual Virginia teachers will set aside time to have small groups and one-on-one meetings. Some of the important instructional pieces for students when they're getting ready for these live sessions are to make sure they're up, they're dressed, and that they're at their workstation ready to get started. They need to be ready to focus. Some of the things the teacher might tell those kindergarten through 5th grade students is to make sure that your brain is thinking, your eyes are watching, your ears are listening, and your microphone is muted. Also, to be sure to have your materials ready. And if they need to talk, raise their hand so that the teacher can then unmute them. As always, the Virtual Virginia program is free of charge to our PPS students and families. However, PPS does incur cost for each student that participates in this program. We are in the Band 1 area. So what that means is for us, each student, it costs us about $1,300 per semester or $2,600 a year. This is why when you enroll in Virtual Virginia, we ask that you are committed for a full semester. Moving on to grades 6 through 12, this program is called the Select program. Again, this is a little bit different than this previous year in that students are actually going to sign up for courses and specific time frames. The guidance counselors at the PPS schools will be the ones that schedule students for appropriate classes, and they will also assign them to a particular time block. This is not something that students and parents will do. This is actually something that the PPS guidance counselors or school counseling office will handle at the school. Attendance is required for full-time and part-time students. And again, most of these courses are going to have a very heavy synchronous instructional piece, which means students will be required to be live with their cameras on while engaging in the synchronous instruction. As always, the course itself will always remain available 24/7 to students, and any live instruction will likely be recorded and posted for future reference. Some new expectations for the 2022-23 school year for students in grades 6 through 12. Again, students are expected to attend live synchronous sessions and to participate in instructional activities. Student devices should have a working microphone, and students should be on camera during this session. There may be some extenuating circumstances that a parent or student would have to discuss with the local school if they needed to request an exception. While the enrollee school's approval, the student may watch the session recording in place of the live attendance. However, this does not apply to students in grades 6 through 8. Students will be required to be live during those synchronous sessions. Some of the live session norms for our students in grades 6 through 12. Number 1 is be on time, be prepared, make sure your real name is what the teacher sees in the list of participants. Always be respectful to the teacher and the classmates during those sessions, and to always maintain appropriate language in the chat when speaking. And of course, be an active learner. This is a sample of what a student schedule might look like. This would probably be representative of a middle school student. You would be scheduled in classes starting at 8 a.m. and finishing up about 2:35. So this is very typical and represents a normal school day. This is just going to be a virtual school day. You will not necessarily be live during the entire time. However, during that 8 to 8:35 time, if you were in one of these English classes, you may have to participate in that live instruction for about 15 to 20 minutes before you moved on to some of your independent work. These are just a sampling of the classes that you could see for our 6th through 12th grade in English, history, math, science, world languages. There are also other types of blocks for our high school. We know that we run on a 4x4 block. And so your day may look a little bit like this, where you have live sessions from 8 to 8:35, 10 to 10:35, and you can see the rest of the time frames. These courses in the 4x4 block are completed at the end of a semester. So you do an entire course in the semester time, which is the same thing that we do here in our in-person schools. Virtual Virginia will also have some late afternoon and even evening session times for some of their encore. These will not require live attendance. They will be mostly asynchronous with maybe recorded instruction that students can watch. You can see that there are some new additional courses, especially in world languages and CTE areas. Again, the PPS school counselor will meet with parents and students in order to schedule appropriate classes for students for next year. Here's a few of the new courses that they are offering next year. Again, you can see most of the courses are in the career and technical education area. There are also some new offerings in computer science, English, fine arts, science, and world languages. Grades 6 through 12 enrollment, again, no cost to our students or our parents. However, there is a cost to the division. We pay $125 per student per course per semester. So again, when you register for Virtual Virginia, the expectation is that you are committed for the semester. Virtual Virginia has also added some additional expectations. This is something that if you're in the program now, you'll start to see some of these things taking place. So for our kindergarten through fifth grade, teachers will begin to include in their newsletter the course calendar and the last day that they'll be accepting work from students. There are no extensions on coursework unless there's a medical emergency or an extenuating circumstance, and that request must come from the local school. Does not come from the parent or from the student. 6th through 12th grade, you're going to start to notice as you get to the end of the year that course calendars will be updated to show end of year dates. Teachers will begin communicating all end of year information in their weekly emails and in their synchronous sessions. All students must complete a final exam or end of the year culminating project, regardless of local school exemption policies. This is important to note because in face-to-face schools, a lot of times if students pass the SOL, they are exempted from the exam. This is not the case in Virtual Virginia. So if you are in Virtual Virginia this year, or you plan on joining next year, just know that you will be required to take that final exam or complete the end of the year project, regardless of the SOL pass or fail rate. There are no extensions on coursework unless there is medical emergency or extenuating circumstance. And again, that request has to come from the local school. So we're moving into some important need to knows. Again, PPS is going to offer only Virtual Virginia to our students next year as the virtual learning option. Edgenuity will not be an option. And the main reason is because Virtual Virginia, we know, is 100% aligned. They are going to have certified Virginia teachers, and it requires and offers a synchronous learning component, which we feel is extremely important in the success of our students. So how do you register? Well, PPS parents must have a parent portal account or create one in order to register for Virtual Virginia. I will share with you at the end of this presentation where you can find a link to the parent portal, how to create an account in parent portal if you don't already have one, and then once you're in the parent portal, how to register for Virtual Virginia. Parents, you'll complete the Virtual Virginia Learning Request form that is only located in the parent portal. Registration for Virtual Virginia is open right now. So it actually opened on March 15th and it will close on June 30th. So you have that time frame to decide if you want to pursue Virtual Virginia for your student for the 2022-23 school year. There will not be late registrations accepted. Virtual Virginia has a hard cutoff deadline. And so once that passes, we are not allowed to add additional students into that program. When you sign up for Virtual Virginia, you must commit to the virtual program for the full semester. If you sign up for Virtual Virginia and change your mind, you have until July 14th to withdraw from the Virtual Virginia program for the fall semester. After that, we are charged and students are committed to the Virtual Virginia program for the semester. There will be a separate registration that takes place for second semester. An important date to take note of is that Virtual Virginia first day of school is August 24th. Virtual Virginia does not follow the PPS calendar. In fact, they have their own instructional calendar, which again, I will share the link with that at the end of this presentation. You can always visit the Virtual Virginia website to find all of this information as well. But the start date for school is August 24th. Students that are performing below standards at the end of semester 1 may be required to return to in-person learning by that school of record. So if a student is not passing their courses, it is very unlikely that they will be able to select Virtual Virginia for second semester. Students that are taking Virtual Virginia courses are still required to take the Virginia SOLs in person at PPS. Those tests will actually be scheduled by the school of record. And this is one of the important components to understand about Virtual Virginia. Students that are inactive in Virtual Virginia for 8 consecutive days are automatically dropped from the program. Virtual Virginia will allow 1 reinstatement hearing per student, and this conference actually comes at the request of the PPS counselor. It will include the teacher, the parent, the student, and an administrator from one of the PPS schools. Students that are automatically dropped will be required to return to in-person learning or be reported as truant. So this is really important to notice, to take note of, because if you are not active in your synchronous in those live sessions, or if you do not log in and actually complete work within the program, Virtual Virginia will drop you from the program. Parents, when you go into Parent Portal and begin to fill out the virtual learning request, there will be some terms that you have to agree to. So I want to just highlight those. Number 1, you understand that you are committing to the virtual learning program for the full semester. You understand that Virtual Virginia courses will begin on August 24th. You also note that the last day to switch to in-person learning is July 15th. And you understand that your student will receive all instruction from an assigned Virtual Virginia teacher, and that no PPS teacher is actually assigned to your student. This is probably the most important statement, is that you as the parent understand that you are going to serve as the mentor for that Virtual Virginia course and will be responsible for checking email, providing passwords, and assisting the virtual student with access and unlocking assignments. Communication about the course, assignment, grades, and classroom experience should be directed to the Virtual Virginia teacher. While students remain in the school's student information system, all learning takes place through Virtual Virginia, and only grades are reported back to the student's school. So this is really important to understand as the parent. Communication from that Virtual Virginia teacher is consistent, and it comes to the student and the parent. So the expectation is that parents are staying on top of that communication, especially for our K-5 students. Grades are updated and always accessible through the Virtual Virginia program. So as a parent, you can create an account to monitor your students' grades and their progress. Only the semester grades are sent to the PPS School of Record and then recorded in PowerSchool. Students that do not demonstrate success in virtual learning during the previous school year may be denied acceptance into the program. So if you are in Edgenuity this year or Virtual Virginia and you have not demonstrated success, even though you register for Virtual Virginia, the school reserves the right to not accept that registration and to require you to come to in-person learning. One thing that you need to know about being in a virtual program is that this is not an easy program. It is not easier than in person, and in fact, it is probably a little bit more difficult, as it requires students to really be dedicated, good managers of time, and they have to be motivated learners. For more information on Virtual Virginia, you can always visit the Virtual Virginia website for more details. And it's also important to understand some of the other additional information they offer. For example, the sample instructional schedules. There is a parent and guardian orientation that you can take a look at. And there's also some tips on how to be a successful online student. All of this is available on the Virtual Virginia website. This presentation will also be made available to you and posted on the PPS website under virtual learning. If you have general information or general questions regarding virtual learning, you can always contact our virtual learning specialist, Mr. Phil Hines, at jonathan.hines@portsk12.com. This is really the end of our presentation, but I do want to take a moment to take you to our website so that you can see exactly where to find this information. So I'm going to escape out of here. And I want you to note on our PPS website, you can go to the Families tab and scroll all the way to the bottom and select Virtual Learning. When you go to the virtual learning page, it's going to have a lot of the information that I just went over in the presentation, but the important piece, it has live links. So number one, here is a link to the Virtual Virginia calendar. It also has a link to the Virtual Virginia website. Then you will notice the instructions on how to register for Virtual Virginia. Again, you must have that parent portal account. And if you do not have a parent portal account, there are directions on how to create one. You will need a username and password that is actually generated from your student's home school. So if you do not have that parent account or letter, you'll need to contact the student's zone school to get that information. Once you create your parent portal account, you can then follow the directions for registering for Virtual Virginia. These look like this. It'll take you to the parent portal where you'll sign into parent portal. And then on the left-hand side, you will notice the option for forms and then the virtual learning application. You will complete that registration form in its entirety. It will be populated with some of the information like your demographic, your street address, your phone numbers, your email addresses. Please make sure that if these changes are not accurate, that you get or you put in the accurate information. This is how Virtual Virginia will contact you. And then once you are done, you could submit that registration. This does not sign you up for specific classes. This just lets us know that you are selecting Virtual Virginia as your learning option for the 2022-23 school year. And the school counselor from your child's school will then follow up with you to begin the process of registering you for the necessary classes. Again, all of this information can be found on our PPS website under the Families tab, selecting Virtual Learning. Thank you for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions, please, again, feel free to reach out to PPS or Virtual Virginia. PPS, you can reach out to jonathan.hines@portsk12.com for any questions. Thank you and have a great day.